Hello, welcome to Focus on Fantasy Romance, episode number 44, a podcast where we discuss books, genre, industry, and our geeky lives. I'm your host, Elle Klaus.
I'm ARD Clerk.
And I'm Paulina Woods.
And today we have a book chat. We are talking about Knights of Stone, Mason by Lisa Carlisle, and Amy has graciously volunteered to read the blurb because I'm rubbish at it.
Gargoyles, tree witches, and wolf shifters have divided the Isle of Stone after a great battle 25 years ago. When Kayla, a tree witch, hears about the unconventional rock concerts in the Gargoyles' territory, she sneaks from her coven and into their territory to see for herself. Night after night, she returns to see one in particular shift into human form and play guitar at these unconventional shows. For several nights, Mason has kept watch for the pixie-like female. He plans to seduce her, thinking she's a visitor from another island. When he discovers she's one of the tree witches, he retreats, attempting to keep his distance. The temptation is strong, but forbidden. Kayla and Mason attempt to meet in secret, but other elements on the isle command their attention. A magical cloak created by the three clans on the island is thinning, leading to repercussions for all the clans. Kayla and Mason are caught in the middle of it, and their actions may change the fate for all.
Okay, and we are in disagreement about who actually picked this book. Although it's technically Paulina's turn to pick. And I think she got tagged in this because it had gargoyles, which is her thing. I think we should start. Normally we give our kind of star rating at the end. I think we should start with our star rating and go from there. Is anyone opposed to this idea? So from 0 to 5 stars or thumbs up or however we're rating it. 5 being good, 0 being bad. I'm going to go with 3. I call this, it's like if it's a movie, it's a popcorn movie. It's entertaining, fills time, but it wasn't edge of my seat. I didn't love it. Paulina, what did you think? You just muted yourself.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm going to give it a 2.5. It was a quick read, but yeah, let's just go with the 2.5 and I'll get into the other stuff later. Amy?
Okay, so that leaves me. I'm going to go with a 2. I didn't hate it. I've read things that I hated more. So yeah, like Paulina, I think I'll save my other comments for when we dive a little bit deeper into the book, but I'm going to go with a 2. It's probably not something I would ever read again.
And this is the first of 5 books, so this is a series. So let's talk about characters. We have Kayla, our heroine, and Mason, our hero. Mason is a gargoyle who plays bass in this band for the bandmates are all his brothers. And for some bizarre reason, on this island of werewolves and gargoyles and witches, humans flock to their rock concerts. And Kayla is a witch. Her specialty is, it's either herbology or like gardening. I wasn't completely sure.
Healing and herbology.
Okay.
That's what they said.
And aside from that, she lives with her mother. And that's all I got as far as her character. There wasn't anything that made me like these characters. Like, I wanted to, like, the groundwork is there, but like, I don't care. I don't care about these characters. They don't have depth. I don't know how to explain it any more than that. They didn't have any depth. Right?
Right.
Yeah, none. There was nothing there.
Well, like, there was some scenes where, like, Kayla woke up in the morning and tended her garden, and it was just like, she's just killing time. She's just killing time until she can run across the island to Mason. And
well, like in the scene where she went to visit her friends, because she didn't want her mother and aunts to be suspicious of why she was acting so strangely. So she did something normal like go see her friends, that the whole 4 paragraphs was wasted space of things about stuff that I didn't care about or want to care about.
Right. And I think if the author had gone into, like, I don't know, maybe Kayla felt gypped that her specialty was herbology and she wanted to be, I don't know, do something with telekinesis, or, you know, or she was afraid of her power, or give her more than just, I'm going to bide my time until I can sneak out and see this guy.
That we're going to have sex with because, yeah.
Because he's hot.
And, okay.
So towards the end of the book, Mason kept saying, Kayla is so kind. She is so kind. And I'm like, well, where? When did this happen?
Have we seen that she's kind?
How did we, the reader, find out that she was kind?
So far, she's been hot for his bod, and that's all I know about her.
Right.
Is that she really likes gargoyles.
With beefy legs, which I don't blame a girl. I like beefy legs, but there was no flirting between them, really. No. They didn't have I didn't see any chemistry between them. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, we're talking about overall right now, or are we doing character development?
Character development.
Because we kind of did both. Okay, so just want to jump in real fast. Off the bat, when I start reading, I had to force myself to finish. She was flat, and sometimes even the conversations, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, because the conversation seems like the conversations were used to develop the characters. So the characters didn't develop, the conversations kind of did it for them. So I kind of got lost there. And honestly, the only cool thing about Mason was the fact when he went from stone to flesh. I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be a good story. Oh, never mind. But it's cool. I like that part. So, yeah, that's my take on their development of character. I don't think they developed. She never, like you said, she never overcame anything, really. I mean, yeah, they had to overcome the fact that they were both forbidden to be together. But you didn't really see any you seen a little conflict because of the fact that, you know, her mother did drug her mother and aunties to keep her on that side, but you didn't really see the aftermath of that conflict. So I think if she would have developed, the author would have developed more of that conflict, maybe it would have been a more in-depth story. But there was no real, I mean, the conflict began and ended in like 2 pages, I think. Mm-hmm. So there was no growth from that.
Right. Like, and I didn't like that she kept saying, you know, what was she, 21? I'm 21, I'm an adult. But her mom
do what I want.
Her in her room, or, you know, physically hauls her off to home and locks her up. And I'm like, this is an adult? I mean, I understand that it's forbidden and you don't want your children to make mistakes, but I'm like, you're kind of taking away her right to choose anything. I really didn't like that.
I felt like when the author talked about how Kayla felt about her father, and how he ran off. Okay, so here I am expecting, like, is she going to have these abandonment issues? You know, is Mason going to say, you know, tell her he loves her and then he's going to take off and disappear, or start to give her the cold shoulder because she's a witch? And none of that happened. And so here I am, like, building up in my head how, and I know that when you're a reader who's also an author, a lot of people do this. You're like, well, if it was me writing the story, I would have done it this way, or I would add this, or I would take this way. And here I am building up in my head, like, oh, there's this conflict coming that will make these little hints about, you know, who her father is and all of these things, like, matter to me. Because I'm thinking, oh, the author's, like, weaving in, you know, some subplot here, and maybe things are going to beef up a little bit. And it really was none of that. I really felt, character, I felt like maybe the author was like, okay, I need to have a conflict, so the easiest one would be she's a witch, he's a gargoyle. But they never even overcome that. He's just like, oh, you're a witch. We really shouldn't be together, but you're hot, so I'll do you anyway. And she's like, oh, you're a gargoyle. I don't care if we shouldn't be together. You're hot. I want to do you anyway. And I felt like that's all there was to it. And then here I am like, please be more, please be more, please be more. And it wasn't there. So then I was really disappointed.
Right, because I mean the building blocks are there for this amazing conflict, you know, internal and external conflict between characters. Like she's at war with the fact that he's off limits, but she loves him or is attracted to him. But like that dark moment, you know, the dark moment is towards the end of the book when they think that emotionally they can't be together. That dark moment was not there. It was there physically when the mother hauled off her 21-year-old daughter and locked her in her room, but it wasn't there emotionally. Like they never had that disconnect emotionally. They got together, they had their this is how it could be moment, and then they never had that, like I said, that dark moment. And that's kind of the point of a romance, is the, you know, the realization that despite everything that sucks about everything, they can be together. That's the purpose of the romance, is to get those two together emotionally, not just physically.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
I want to say too, and this goes for anybody who's ever thinking about that they're going to write like a Scottish romance or anything like this. Just because you put your hero in a kilt and he says the word lass occasionally does not make him Scottish. Just because you name them Scottish names, it doesn't make them authentically Scottish. I mean, these gargoyles are supposed to be like, you know, from the Scottish Highlands, from their homeland. And another thing I don't understand, and this may come later in the plot discussion, but you guys can agree or disagree with me on this. So supposedly they're like ancient beings, right? But this war happened 25 years ago, but nobody knows what really happened. So are you really only 25 years old? Because if you're only 25 years old,
I was confused with that.
Right. Well,
the gargoyles?
Let's get into the setting and the plot a little bit. Because you have this island that was supposedly inhabited by the gargoyles, the werewolves, and the witches. So these three factions on one island. But then later it's revealed that the only gargoyles that actually go to the island are these 5 brothers. All the other gargoyles have relocated to the Highlands, right?
Where?
No, he said our homeland is the Highlands.
Right. But
so I assumed that that's where they originated from, and then they all ended up on the island.
Right, but they're the only 5 gargoyles on the island, and I thought later in the book, and I may have been skimming, that they had all relocated off the island.
She did say that they were from the Highland, and then they did mention that they were relocated. There's 2 different stories in one story.
Right. So that was like, if all the gargoyles left the island, why would they care if the witches and the werewolves don't get along?
Right.
And I'm still trying to figure out how old they were.
Right, because that's where I'm coming from, because they're telling me that the elder gargoyles, blah, 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 and that there was this war 25 years ago, and supposedly the witches cursed the gargoyles, and the gargoyles did something to the witches, attack and kill them, take their women. See, this was another plot point that I thought was going to be, like, I thought these 5 guys were going to be like, ha, 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 we take, young innocent witches and debauch them, and that's how we get over on those tree witches. Like, I thought that was going to be a thing too, but no, that's not a thing either, even though they're like, oh, they kill young witches. 25 years ago, they massacred us, but yet these gargoyles are like, no, we don't know what happened. So I'm like, are they 25 years old, or are they like ancient beings, or like what?
Who knows how old the gargoyles are?
It wasn't explained, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't
to
really
me, clearly.
clear. there wasn't really a lot of history. Like, we know that there was a conflict that made the werewolves and gargoyles and witches not get along, but there wasn't really a lot of history aside from that. And like the first time that Kayla and Mason meet, she doesn't really have any fear of him. Like, they were told that the gargoyles killed all these witches. Wouldn't her first response be fear?
She's more afraid of like the werewolves and the howling that she hears in the woods than she is of the gargoyle who flies into her path.
He's giving us a concert.
Sorry, my phone was ringing.
Yeah, so even when Kayla and Mason meet Ian, who is the head of the werewolves, who randomly approaches this couple and asks for help, because that's what you do, there wasn't really a lot of fear there either.
And the whole thing, they're like, oh, well, we don't hate each other. We don't hate you. We don't know why we're supposed to hate you.
Right.
But if you were raised that way, you're not going to ask the question, why am I supposed to hate you?
She did. You have to give her that. She did ask the question later, and they did kind of brush it off, the other witches. But again, it happened 5 years before she was born. I don't know.
If it happened 25 years ago and she was 21, it would have happened 4 she was born. So, yeah, okay. So towards the end of the book, we've mentioned that Kayla got kidnapped by her own mother and locked in her room. And she gets out and runs to Mason. And then the werewolves, who were having problems with their young not controlling themselves during a full moon, attack this concert full of humans, gargoyles, and Kayla. And I was like, oh, cool, there's going to be this big showdown. There's going to be, major conflict. But no, Ian, calls off the wolves and says, oops, sorry, our kids got a little raucous. And Kayla's mothers and her aunts show up. And...
Okay. How was he able to control them at that point, but not before they got there?
Right. Even as the alpha, if he couldn't control them when they were, I don't know,
under the influence of the moon or whatever he said.
Right. How would he be able to stop them once they've gone into a frenzy? So, yeah, good question. But that stopped the fighting, and then all the humans, flocked off the island because, of course, they did, and so Kayla has to explain to her mom, and they're going through, they're like, well, I don't know why we hate you, and I don't know why we hate you. And then who was it? Mason said, oh, it was some ancient witch named Adair or something like that. And I was like, I was waiting for someone to be like, oh, she's, blah, 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 she's still alive, or, something about this character that was important enough to have a name, but no one seems to recognize it. And this ancient witch cursed the gargoyles so that they couldn't have offspring.
Only 25 years ago.
And
so somebody should remember
none of the witches know who it is.
So let me tell you, when I was reading about the concert, and anybody who likes books and has been around for a while, if you've ever read, Anne Rice's The Vampire Lestat, and when Lestat became a rock star and he started playing his concerts, and all the humans came because, this was a vampire band, and then the vampires attacked Lestat on stage from in the book The Queen of the Damned. So I'm sitting here reading this, and that's all I can see in my head. It's I can see that same scene playing out with different paranormal characters, and so I kind of felt like it was stale material a little bit. I don't know. I just felt, for me, I probably, if the characters would have been a little better developed, if they had been a little bit meatier and I cared about them, I might have been able to forgive the rest of the stuff. But because I didn't care about the characters, I was able to nitpick everything else.
Right.
Because I wasn't focused on like caring about what was going to happen. I didn't expect anyone to die. I didn't expect, you know, anything all that bad to happen because it didn't have, you know, normally when you read a book and you've got the build up and you have the climax, which would be the big battle. And then, you know, you kind of got a little, I just didn't feel like there was any uphill. Like it was just like, whoop, we're done.
Right. And I'm still confused as to why Mason and his brothers formed a rock band.
Well,
Because they like the music.
They liked booty.
Yeah, they liked the tail.
So that was a good way to, you know, like get the girls. And what if they could pass as human? So that's the thing that got me too, because they flew off to all the surrounding islands, you know, up, and I assume this is the Scottish Isles, like the Isle of Skye or Shetland or somewhere out in there, in those small islands, you know, because they talk about Dublin and several other, you know, towns in that area of the world. They fly off the island sometimes at night. It's like, once again, back to if there's only the 5 of you that live on this island, you formed a rock band because you want people to know you, but you're worried because people might find the island.
Right. So at the end of after the battle, they're like, we need to strengthen the veil or something so that humans can't find us, because now that, you know, there's been bloodshed, they're going to investigate. And I'm like, well, what? This book came out in 2014, and she didn't specify if it was in the past or not. But I'm like, how many of those kids have people at that venue have smartphones? There's probably going to be video of the werewolves on the internet within like 5 seconds of it happening. So that
how
just
many
doesn't
times
seem
did they videotape the transformation from stone to human?
right. And if they're human with wings, because I assume they fly with wings, unless they can levitate without wings, which it wasn't really specified. I think they have black wings.
They have wings because she does say they have wings. Because he flew over top of her and came down and he had black wings. Okay. I do remember that.
Right. So, I mean,
how do you pass for human with a big old pair of wings flopping out?
Right. So that would, yeah, there would be no keeping that quiet, honestly. So
yeah, a lot of things confused me a little bit because I felt like the loose ends weren't tied up.
Right. I think if she had gone into more of Mason's love of music and of playing his bass guitar, he would have had more depth. But that goes back to the flat character issue. Again, and they were solely existed to get together.
Well, and they so she made him seem like not a very nice guy in the beginning. He's like looking out in the crowd for the next girl he's gonna bang, like literally, and he's drawn to her. So you have this, you know, superheated lust, and this is what we had started to talk about before the camera went on, but then we decided to stop. But I didn't feel like this was a romance so much as it was like a lust-mance. Because, like, I feel like they might, how do you know you love somebody in like 5 days? Because literally, I think it took like 5 days from start to finish.
Instant love. That's a thing, though. We have to remember that instant love is a thing.
Did she like instant love, or did she like the way he smacked her ass? Because I'm not real sure that I could tell the difference.
Again, it's that is something we have to do. We do have to give the author that instant love is a trope that authors write in. So
it is, and she did build on the insta love, because he's like, I am so drawn to her, you know, and he was like, I don't know what it is, but I just can't stay away from her. And the same for her. She felt drawn back to him. You know what I mean? So I get that there was an insta love trope going on there, but there was a whole lot of like booty liking too. I felt like, I don't know, they really liked the way each other looked, probably at the beginning. I think later on towards the end of the story, I might have believed a little bit more that they actually had feelings for each other. But I mean, they really had sex one time, and she's like, "Do you love me?" And he's like, "Well, I care about you." And she's like, "Well, that's not good enough." And she starts putting her clothes on real fast, and he's like,
Okay.
Okay, I guess I love you.
I'm sorry. I
Take your clothes
understand
back
wanting it
off.
hard. I understand wanting it hard, but Electra, she actually mentioned this, that it's kind of rapey. Like, it's hard. I understand, but at one point I was not rapey. Sorry, it was like it hurts. He's like, I'm just like, well, is the anatomy the same as a human? Like, they never explained. Is he really large, or is he just like drilling her into the ground? Like, what? Why is it hurt? What's going on? I'm like, I can't see sexy time. Like, if like some girls, like he's really large and stretched her. So okay, I get that it hurts, but like it just hurt. And I was like, why? Why is it hurting? Tell me.
Yeah, the sexy scenes weren't all that super sexy for me. It was more mechanical. Like, I don't think that the author, went into the emotional connection. And I think that's the problem, is the emotional connection isn't there. The emotional depth of the characters isn't there. So we can't relate. And then it just makes us feel like we're, I don't know, just these really weird observers of this.
Almost more like she was heading almost down the road toward erotica, you know what I mean? Like, where the emotion is really not the focus, but the sex is the focus. But then she kind of veered off again and said, "Oh, wait, I gotta make them love each other. Hold on." So, like, it was almost like, probably unconsciously, when the author was writing the book, because, as romance authors, we know that romance readers like the sexy scenes because that's what we like. That's, part of the romance for us. But it was like she freight trained toward the sexy scenes, and then she was like, "Oop, jump the track. Got to make them love each other real quick." So yeah, and it wasn't awful. I mean, there have been sex scenes where I have literally rolled my eyes and been like, oh, that is awful. And if you ever did that to me, I would murder you. But it wasn't bad. I mean, it was what it was. It was sex. I mean, tab A, slot B, basics. Yeah, but like Paulina, if there was some anatomical differences, or are they human? What did he do with his wings?
No, they went away.
They went away?
They can go away.
Maybe I missed that part.
That's one thing I do notice when I read gargoyle books, is I do kind of read and take note of where the wings go.
That's how they blend in with humans, if their wings can disappear.
Yeah, their wings disappear. I
missed that part.
They go into little slits, and then they disappear into the back. Which, again, I thought that was pretty cool. Like, literally, some of it was pretty cool how, you guys already know I'm a gargoyle fan, so some of it was pretty cool how they did it. Like, where I didn't understand the part where, like, well, we really don't sleep, but
they're like awake. They're like meditating, but he did
go to sleep.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. He said we are what was it? Feeling for discord in the world. Like they're
So I thought they traveled outside of their bodies, but they don't.
It's like he's like, we're sensing upheaval in the world. Okay, but are you like a guardian? Do you do something about the upheaval? Are you going to fight? Like, why would you tell me this if it doesn't matter? And maybe later in the series, you do find out that it matters, because there's, for these 5 brothers, maybe there's something about them that makes that important. Right. But I was a little confused, because I'm like, well, if you're like feeling all this upheaval in the world, like, why do gargoyles do that?
Right. I think the author will probably explore that in later books, because there are 5 of them. And I think the framework she's laid down for this does allow for the opportunity for some really great storytelling. I just think this story, I mean, it's a novella. It's fairly short. I think it needs a little more attention with the emotional development of the characters.
Yes.
Right. It's like,
oh my God,
somebody opened a door, but they didn't open it quite enough. So.
Well, I think I've spoken my piece about this. And I keep forgetting.
I'm done.
Paulina has a pet named Amy. She just yelled, "Get Amy!"
Oh, wait a minute. Could you? I thought I put it on mute.
Well, you did at the end, but after you had said, "Get away, Amy," I'm like, oh, that's right. That's it's your pet.
Sorry.
You're fine. Okay,
It's
so
okay.
we've
Let
been
them know how you really talk to me, Paulina.
Isabel's not here. I can't look at her longingly.
I know.
Yeah. So we've been discussing Knights of Stone Mason by Lisa Carlisle. It is available on all major retailers. It is the first of 5 books. So you don't have to take our word for it. You can read it and judge for yourself. If you listen on iTunes, please leave us a review or leave us a review anywhere that you can. That will help us with discoverability and we can make the podcast more gooder. Thank you for joining us. If you like the podcast, please like, comment, and share. This has been episode number 44. Good night.
Good night.